What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon, and we're going to take a short break from the draft stuff to talk a little bit about some of the recent Seahawks news. Although, I don't really know if you can call it news because it's not exactly stuff that should be pressing at the front of our minds right now, right? Like, we got this draft stuff, we've got this draft in little more than 2 weeks away. That's got to be the focus. But a couple things did happen yesterday that are worth discussing for at least a few minutes here. So let's go ahead and do that now. Yesterday, and again, this is relatively old news at this point, the Seahawks actually started their offseason workout program. Yesterday was the day a lot of teams that had new coaches started on the 8th. A few started back on April 2nd. And then a lot of the teams that have returning coaches are going to be starting around the 15th. That's how they stagger things out. I don't think it makes any difference in terms of like how much of a program you get to have. I think everybody gets to have the same substance. It's just some teams start a little later than others. So we're one of the teams that started yesterday on the 8th, and it's just the off-season workout program. So if you're wondering what that is, just to go over that real quick, Corbin Smith has this article over on his SI page where he runs it down a little bit. Under terms of the league's collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, the first 2 weeks of the program will be limited to meetings, strength and conditioning, and rehabilitation. So that's why I didn't feel the need to make a video on it yesterday, right as it was happening, as if it was going to be something really impactful. I didn't feel the need to act like it was some big deal when it's just not really that important. It's strength and conditioning, which, I mean, are we really going to sit here and make a bunch of videos about, oh, DK Metcalf's lifting weights? Oh, Reek Woolen's doing his wind sprints. Like, it's the typical stuff you do when you're starting to get into shape, ready to start gearing up for the season. And meetings, I mean, obviously the meetings are a little more interesting for the Seahawks this year because they have new coaches, but it's not necessarily anything we're going to learn anything about as fans. And rehab, which affects guys like, I would guess, Nwosu. It would affect anybody who ended the season hurt last year. Maybe a guy like Jarek Reed, Abe Lucas. So that's basically all this is going to be. So I didn't feel the need to make some video about it like it was a big portend of what was to come with this team. But we did start our offseason program yesterday. And with the start of the offseason program comes some decisions on the part of our players. So yesterday, another thing that happened was the Seahawks announced the official signing of some of the tendered players. I think this is actually every player we tendered over the offseason. For those of you who don't remember, the Seahawks had a collection of restricted free agents and exclusive rights free agents, and those guys get tendered. They get offered, in most cases, sometimes you go ahead and just extend them multi-year early. In most cases, what you do is you just offer them a one-year deal at a set rate. If it's an ERFA, it's the bare minimum. And if it's an RFA, it depends on what tag you want to use. We used, I think, the lowest tag possible in both cases when it came to our restricted free agent stuff. So it was the same amount either way. And basically, the player can either accept it or they retire, right? So this Field Goals article runs down the decisions made by the various players because they need to be under contract or else they can't participate in off-season stuff, right? So while we offered them the contract maybe over a month ago, we needed them to sign for them to actually be able to work out, for them to actually be able to participate in meetings and do the things that you need to do. So the 7 players that officially signed with the Seahawks as of yesterday are the RFA, Mike Jackson. He's the one who's actually getting the significant amount of money that I think is going to hold. You also had Radigan, the other RFA, who is getting the same as Jackson, but I don't think that's going to hold. And then you have Onujiogu, Adams, O'Neal, Curtis, and Russell. So those 5 guys all got the ERFA tag, which is very little. It's like $1 million or less. Maybe it's a little bit more than $1 million. In most cases, it's a little bit less, but it's right around there. Just a 1-year deal, fully non-guaranteed, and either you take it or, well, when a player who is restricted gets offered the tender by the team, they have basically 4 options. They can sign the tender, and a vast majority of them do that. They can go to the team and ask them very nicely to let them go because they don't want to be there anymore. They can go to the team and very nicely ask for a multi-year extension or an extension that's not the RFA tag, which is actually kind of what we did with Darrell Taylor this year. Although what he got is basically identical to the RFA anyway, just with a $20,000 signing bonus. So I still don't really know what happened there. Or the 4th option is they can retire. So you can see that these players have chosen the first option, the most popular one. Just take your 1-year deal, make the little bit of money, and then come out next year. So yeah, these guys can now participate in our off-season workout program. It doesn't seem like there was any issue on their part. Like, none of these guys are going to be sitting there grousing about how, oh, I only got a 1-year deal. I only got $3.1 million, or in some cases, I got $1 million. Like, Onujiogu, Adams, O'Neal, Curtis, and Russell have done basically nothing in this league. John Radigan's probably thrilled right now that he's even sitting on a $3.1 million contract, hypothetically, and Jackson didn't play that much last year, even though I thought he played fairly well. Now, to my understanding, these contracts are still not guaranteed until the season starts. So the players have made their decision to accept the tender. The Seahawks can still, to my knowledge, release them from their contracts and owe them nothing. And I would assume that in some cases that gets exercised. Like, I seriously doubt Raekwon O'Neal makes the 53-man roster. I seriously doubt Onujiogu makes the final roster. So that's not a guarantee these guys will be here. As far as I know, we could still pull the rug out from Jackson or Radigan, and they would get nothing. So they bought themselves a ticket to the 90-man roster, probably going to be here throughout the offseason, probably going to be here for the preseason. Past that, excuse me, they're going to have to earn it. So, to my knowledge, this does not guarantee anything. All right, so that's what's going on right now with these Seahawks. I know it's not... I mean, we knew these guys got tendered over a month ago during free agency, right? So, looking at this is not like, oh, here's a bunch of new players. No, these are players we knew we were going to have. We just needed the players to go ahead and sign, and they didn't officially sign until yesterday. So, I don't even know if you can call this news, but it is something that happened that does affect things a little bit. So, I guess what we can say is that we know these guys want to be here, right? There's no, oh, Miles Adams, I'm sick of Seattle. Get me out of here. I'm not signing that. You get me out of here. I'm going to retire. I don't want to play in Seattle. No. And I don't know why there would be, but I guess it does happen from time to time. All right. So if you think anything about all this, let me know. The off-season workout program is underway, which will hopefully give way to some intriguing happenings in the coming few months. Hopefully the good intriguing, right? Like, the thing is, most of the news that could come out of a workout program would be injuries, which we don't need. So hopefully we don't have to deal with that. All right. More edge rusher stuff coming later today. See you guys. Go Hawks. And yeah, that's what I got. It's not the most game-changing stuff in the world, but we try to cover everything around here. Do the best that we can. See you guys later.